I always doubted those missing person posts you see online. I never believed someone could just vanish out of thin air, especially because of the internet. And I'm not talking about deleting an account or just stopping posting. I'm talking about something far more disturbing. 3 years ago, a Reddit user named u/realityglitch started documenting strange experiences in their new house. For 6 months, they posted religiously to the r/paranormal subreddit, sharing increasingly bizarre and unsettling accounts. Thousands of people followed their journey in real time, offering advice, theories, and even practical help. But then, on an ordinary Tuesday in October, everything changed. Their last post contained only one sentence. I can see the seams now. They're not sending help. They're sending rules. Since then, absolute silence. What makes this case even more terrifying is that no one has ever been able to find u/realityglitch. There are no records of their real name, no clues to their exact location, and their account remains active, but completely silent. It's as if they were simply erased. Tonight, I'm going to share with you the complete story of u/realityglitch, based on their own posts, saved by other users before it was too late. A story that forces us to question, how far can reality unravel before we realize we're lost? And more importantly, what happens when you discover that your house isn't just haunted? It's a gateway to something that should have never existed. Get ready, because this isn't just a horror story. It's a documentary about someone's descent into a parallel reality, recorded post by post, comment by comment. The truth is in the details they left behind. The first post from u/realityglitch was surprisingly normal. Published at 2:47 a.m. on a Sunday in April, on r/paranormal, with the title, New House, Weird Vibes. Am I overthinking? Let me read you exactly what they wrote. It all started when I moved into this house. Nothing fancy, just a typical 80s suburban home. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, small yard. The kind of place you drive by and immediately forget. My parents bought it because the price was too good to be true. Now I understand why. I've always been the type to stay up late online. Gaming, YouTube, Reddit. You know the drill. But in our old house, my room was right next to my parents', and they'd always complain about the noise from my keyboard and the light from my monitor. When we moved, I discovered there was a small bonus room at the back of the house. Tiny, with a window overlooking the neighbor's yard, but perfect for my cave. It was isolated enough that I wouldn't bother anyone, and it even had a separate entrance through the kitchen. The first week was fine. I set up my rig, got everything organized. The room had a bit of a musty smell, but nothing an air purifier couldn't fix. The walls were too white, almost clinical, but I figured I'd decorate later. It was during the second week that things started to feel different. It wasn't the obvious stuff. I'd be up until around 4 a.m., and sometimes I'd feel like someone was watching me. You know that feeling? Like someone is standing right behind you? It was that. But when I'd turn around, nothing. The window looked out onto the Harrisons' yard. A super sweet elderly couple who always waved whenever they saw me. But some nights, I noticed they never turned on any lights. Their house would be completely dark, even with their car in the driveway. Maybe they just go to bed early, right? Normal people do that. But what really bothered me was the silence. My old room always had some background noise. Cars passing, neighbors, something. Here, after midnight, the silence was so thick I could hear my own heartbeat. Am I overreacting? Probably. New house, new environment, my mind playing tricks on me. But I wanted to know if anyone else has ever gone through something like this. Is it normal to feel like a place doesn't want you there? The post received 47 upvotes and 23 comments. Most people offered logical explanations: adjusting to a new environment, moving anxiety, suggestions for plants to improve the air. One user, u/old-time resident, commented something interesting. Some houses have thin spots, kid. Trust your instincts. Reality. Glitch replied, thin spots? But u/old-time resident never answered back. 2 weeks later, u/reality glitch posted again. This time, the tone was different, more urgent. Update. Things are getting weirder. Need advice ASAP. To the people who commented on my last post, you were right about the adjustment period. But things are happening now that I can't explain away logically. First thing, my mouse. I always leave it in a specific position when I'm done with my PC. It's a weird OCD thing I've had since I was a kid. 3 times this week, I've woken up to find it on the other side of the desk, not slightly moved. The other side. I asked my parents if they came into my room. They said no, and I believe them. The door creaks loudly when it opens. I would have noticed. Second thing, the temperature. You know how the air gets heavy right before a cold front moves in? That's what my room feels like after 3 a.m. every day, even when it's warm outside. I checked the weather forecast. Nothing abnormal. Third thing, and this is where it gets bizarre. The Harrisons. Remember how I said they never turn on their lights at night? Well, last night I watched their house. I know it's kind of creepy, but my window looks right into their backyard. Around 1:30 a.m., I saw a light moving inside. Not an electric light. It looked like a flashlight or a candle. Someone was walking from one room to another, slowly, very slowly. I thought, okay, maybe they got up to use the bathroom. But the light kept moving for almost 2 hours, always in the same pattern. Living room, kitchen, hallway, bedroom. Living room, kitchen, hallway, bedroom. Like someone was patrolling. When the light finally stopped, I looked at the clock. 3:33 a.m. Here's the part that really scared me. As I got up to close my curtains, I saw a silhouette in the Harrisons' kitchen window. Someone was watching me back. We stood like that for about 30 seconds, just staring at each other. Then the silhouette waved. A slow, deliberate wave. I shut the curtains instantly and didn't open them again until morning. Earlier today, I saw the Harrisons in their front yard. They were planting flowers, chatting normally. When they saw me, they gave their usual happy, normal wave. I asked them if everything was okay, if they'd gotten up during the night. Mrs. Harrison laughed and said they've slept like rocks ever since they retired. Since when? I asked. Oh, about 15 years now, Mr. Harrison said. Why do you ask? I didn't know what to say. Guys, I'm starting to document this stuff because I need to know if I'm losing my mind or if something real is happening. I'm gonna start logging everything. Times, temperatures, anything strange. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Talk to my parents? Seek help? Or keep investigating? Because a part of me, a strange part, wants to know more. This post blew up. 342 upvotes, 89 comments. People were divided between skeptics and believers, but everyone wanted updates. One comment stood out, from a user named u/dimensional drifter. Document everything. Some places are doorways. You might be standing at one. The third post from u/reality glitch came just 4 days later. But this time, something had fundamentally shifted in their writing. The words felt heavier. I think I crossed something I shouldn't have. Urgent. Hey everyone. I need to write this fast because I don't know how much time I have before. Well, you'll see. Following your advice, I started documenting everything. I bought a camera, a thermometer, even a digital recorder. I thought I was going to prove it was all a coincidence, anxiety, something normal. I was wrong. So wrong. The night before last, around 2:15 a.m., the temperature in my room plummeted. From 73 degrees Fahrenheit down to 52 degrees Fahrenheit in less than 5 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. I have a photo of the thermometer. The air got so heavy I could barely breathe. That's when I realized the colors were wrong. I don't know how to explain this in a way that makes sense. Imagine you've known the color blue your whole life, and then you suddenly realize it was always slightly violet. It was like that, with everything in my room. The white walls had a yellowish tint I'd never noticed. The light from my monitor was more intense, almost painful to look at. I reached for my camera to record, but it wouldn't turn on. The battery was full. I tested it an hour before. The recorder was dead too. Only the thermometer kept working, displaying impossible temperatures. Then I heard it. It wasn't the Harrisons this time. It was a voice coming from my own ceiling, like someone was walking in the attic. But our house doesn't have an attic. The voice was whispering something. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was educational. Like a teacher explaining something very important to a student who wasn't paying attention. I knew I should leave the room. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to run. But a strange part of me, a part I'd never felt before, wanted to stay and learn. I stayed. The voice became clearer. It was teaching about overlays and points of convergence. It said that some places exist in more than one reality at the same time, and that certain people can transition between them. "You are in a classroom now," the voice said. "The first lesson is always the hardest." When I looked at my window, the Harrisons were there, but not in their yard. They were standing right outside my window, watching me. Their shadows were completely wrong, projecting in different directions as if there were multiple light sources. Mrs. Harrison waved again, but this time, when she raised her hand, I saw she had 6 fingers. The temperature returned to normal at exactly 3:33. The colors corrected themselves. The Harrisons vanished. But I know they're still there. And I know that voice is coming back tonight. The strange thing is, I want it to come back. I need to know more about these overlays. A part of me understands this is dangerous, but another part, a growing part, knows that this is important. Has anyone ever heard of places existing in multiple realities? About people who can move between them? Update. It's 11:47 p.m. now. The temperature has started to drop again. The 4th post from u/reality glitch was their longest and most disturbing. Posted at 6:23 a.m., clearly after a sleepless night. They're teaching me the rules. I don't think I can go back. I couldn't sleep. I don't know if I can sleep anymore. The voice returned, just like I knew it would. But this time, it wasn't alone. There were other voices, whispering in layers, like multiple radios tuned to the same frequency. They explained the thin spots, the points where our reality overlaps with other places. They said my house was built on one of these overlaps, and that certain people are naturally sensitive to them. "You are not being haunted," one of the voices said. "You are being educated." They taught me the first rules. Never look directly at the wrong shadows. They start to move when they notice you can see them. Between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., keep your eyes focused on the screen. That's when the overlays are most visible. If you hear your own name being called from inside the walls, don't answer. It's not you they're calling. The Harrisons are not the Harrisons, but they are harmless if you follow the rules. As they spoke, I realized I could see through the walls. Not metaphorically, literally. It was like the whole house was made of frosted glass. I could see my parents sleeping in their room, but I could also see other things. There were figures walking down hallways that don't exist. People climbing staircases our house doesn't have. In what should have been the basement, I saw a massive library with books that seemed to be burning but were never consumed. "This is the real house," the voices whispered. "Your family only sees one layer of it." I looked out the window and saw the entire neighborhood was different. The houses had impossible shapes, with angles that hurt to look at. The sky was a deep red, even though it was night. And there were people, or things that looked like people, walking on the streets. Their shadows fell upwards. The Harrisons were in the yard again, but now I could see that they were incomplete. Like someone had drawn people but forgotten some important details. Mrs. Harrison had no ears. Mr. Harrison cast no shadow at all. When they saw me looking, they waved in perfect sync, 6 fingers each. "They are guides," the voices explained. "All new students are assigned guides." That was the first time they mentioned the word. Zeraithiel. "Welcome to your first glimpse of Zeraithiel," a voice said with something that sounded like pride. "Most people take months to see this clearly. You're a natural." When the sun came up, everything went back to normal. But I know it's an illusion. The real house, the library, the extra hallways, the impossible stairs, it's all still there. I just need to learn how to see it properly. The problem is, now I can't stop seeing. I'm in the kitchen writing this, and I can see my mom making coffee. But I can also see a woman in a Victorian dress making tea in the same kitchen, at the same table, like 2 overlapping films. The voices said tonight they will teach me how to navigate between the layers. Part of me knows I should be terrified. But the part that's growing, the part that's learning, is excited. The 5th post from u/reality glitch arrived 3 days later, and for the first time, there was something fundamentally different in their language. The words seemed older. I understand now, but understanding comes with a cost. They taught me how to navigate. I don't know if I should have learned. On Tuesday, the voices guided me through the first full transition. Between 3:15 and 3:45 a.m., I was able to move my consciousness completely into that unsettling reality. It wasn't like looking through frosted glass anymore. I was there. The basement library stretched infinitely around me. The books burned eternally, and when I managed to read some of the titles, I realized they were the stories of people like me. People who found thin spots. People who learned the rules. People who never came back. The Harrisons were there too, but now I saw their true forms. They aren't people who died. They are echoes. Impressions left behind by someone who crossed over a long time ago. Their memories of being human are so faint that they just mimic what they vaguely remember about normal life. "Every guide was once a student," Mrs. Harrison told me, her voice echoing impossibly. "Every student becomes a guide. Eventually." The price of seeing this dark reality clearly is that you can no longer stop. Every transition becomes easier, more natural, but also more necessary. This morning, I tried to talk to my parents over a normal breakfast, but the words came out strange. I'd say orange juice, but my mind was thinking liquid sunlight from the 3rd layer. I'd say good morning, but I was remembering greetings I learned on the other side. My mom asked if I was okay. When I looked in the mirror to answer, my reflection blinked 3 times. I only blinked twice. The voices told me this is normal. Integration, they call it. Your mind from that lost dimension and your mind from here, slowly merging. The problem is, the mind from the other side is getting stronger. Tonight, they're going to teach me about permanent residence. A part of me knows I should be terrified. The other part of me, the growing part, can hardly wait. If you're reading this and you've been going through similar things, maybe don't follow my lead. Maybe run. But if you can't run, if the curiosity is too strong, document everything. Others need to know. The rules matter. The patterns matter. Someone needs to remember us. The sixth and final post from u/reality glitch was different from all the others. Posted at 2:33 a.m. on a Tuesday, exactly 3 weeks after their first report. Final lessons. I can see the seams now. I have to write this fast. They're not sending help. They're sending rules. Permanent residence isn't what I thought. It's not a change of address. It's a change of nature. Last night, during my final transition, I understood everything. That unsettling reality isn't a different place. It's the same place, just more honest. Our reality is an edited, censored version. The other side shows things as they really are. My house always had extra rooms. I just couldn't see them before. The Harrisons were always echoes. My parents don't notice because they don't need to. Not yet. But I notice. And once you notice, you can't pretend you don't see anymore. The voices explain that some people are born with thin skin, a weaker barrier between realities. We are natural information gatherers. We document, we observe, we record. And when we've collected enough data, we become part of the system. You're graduating, one of the voices said yesterday. Tomorrow, you'll understand your real purpose. I tried to go back home, to the censored version of the house, but something was different. My room was empty. No computer, no bed. Just white walls and a window that looked out into nowhere. I ran to my parents' room. They were sleeping. But as I got closer, I saw they were repeating the same movements. A breath, a turn to the left, a sigh, a turn to the right. Always in the same sequence, always in the same timing. They are echoes too, or maybe they always were. I went to the kitchen to write this on the family laptop, but the keys were in a different order. They formed words I didn't recognize, but somehow I understood them perfectly. They said, "Welcome home." When I looked out the kitchen window, I saw my reflection wave back at me, but I wasn't waving. My reflection has 6 fingers now. I can see the seams, the places where this reality was stitched together to hide the truth, the points where the programming shows through. Tomorrow, I start my real job. Tomorrow, I become a guide for the next student. If you're reading this, and you're starting to see things that don't make sense, document everything. Write it down. Post it online. Warn the others. But do not follow my path. Don't let curiosity win. Some doors shouldn't be opened. Some questions shouldn't be answered. Some truths are too heavy to carry. I can see the seams now. They're not sending help. They're sending rules. And I think I'm ready to follow them. That was the last coherent post from u/reality glitch. It received 3.7K upvotes and over 500 comments from people desperate for an update. They never replied. Just silence. 3 years have passed since that final post from u/reality glitch. Their account remains on Reddit, but completely inactive. Like a digital tombstone that no one can remove. Hundreds of users have tried to track them down. Internet sleuths, paranormal enthusiasts, even people claiming to know them personally. But it's as if you/reality glitch never existed outside of those posts. No real name, no address, no family reporting a missing person. It's like they were carefully erased from our reality, leaving only those accounts as proof they were ever here. But the most disturbing part isn't what we haven't found about them. It's what we've found about ourselves. Over the last 3 years, dozens of users have started reporting similar experiences. Houses with extra rooms, neighbors who cast no shadow, reflections that blink out of sync. Always starting with small oddities, always escalating into something more. r/reality glitches has become a subreddit with over 200,000 members. People documenting their own descents into that unsettling reality some now call Zarathiel, following their example, keeping records until the day they stop posting. And they always stop posting. Always at 3:33 a.m., always on a Tuesday, and always with the same final sentence. I can see the seams now. If you've ever noticed strange things in your own home, if the temperature has ever dropped for no reason, if your shadows have ever looked wrong, if you've heard voices explaining rules, leave a comment. I have. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like for more journeys to Zarathiel.